Hi everybody, this is Didi from In the Know Radio, and today we're here with my very special guest, Sara Pugh. Hi Sara, how are you doing?
Hi Didi.
Sara Pugh is a certified hypnotist, has her bachelor's degree in biochemistry and genetics, and has a PhD in molecular biology and biophysics. Sara studied protein folding, which plays a role in Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease, antioxidants, and nootropics, otherwise known as smart drugs. She then worked as a postdoctoral researcher on heart cells, cholesterol, and statins, and has her work published in many of the above subjects in various peer-reviewed journals. Sara left the world of science to work as a movement and neurological therapist while incorporating hypnotherapy into her work. She works with a wide variety of people, including those in pain, stroke victims, athletes, and expectant mothers. Most of Sara's work is brain-based, with a particular focus on the visual and vestibular system, otherwise known as the inner ear. Sara also regularly runs 3-hour workshops for other therapists, doctors, and the general public on this subject. She is currently working in her private practice in Leeds, West Yorkshire in the UK, and finishing her book on the subject of pain, neuroscience, and metabolism that will be released sometime in 2015. As a side hobby, Sara is also a stage hypnotist and a magician. So Sara, were you at a venue that you came dressed as, what is your stage name?
It's Carla Mystery.
Carla Mystery.
Yes, Carla Mystery.
So were you doing a stage show before you came here?
No, I wasn't. It's just the Americans seem to like Carla Mystery and the whole English accent more. So I was doing some, we call it hypno junkie sessions, just some 20-minute trance sessions where people can do whatever they like.
By the way, we're at a hypnosis convention, so we've been surrounded with hypnotists having fun.
Yes.
So, Sara, coming from a scientific background, what is it that got you to merge or change your path and work as a neurological therapist and hypnotist?
Because I love working with people, and I don't think drugs really... with drugs and medication, I think, why do you need to poison yourself to make yourself better? And there's so much value in interacting one-to-one with a person. I don't think just using physical methods is enough. I think you need to understand about the mind, the emotions. That's where the hypnotherapy comes in. But it's more back to, it's the person-on-person contact that's so important.
There is something to be said about that when a person goes to, and they may have nobody in their life where they can share their pain.
Exactly.
And if you're the only one and you create that space for them, and in addition, give them powerful tools that will help them use their mind to improve their bodies, I think it's a great thing.
Oh yeah, definitely. But also there's the time I get with people. I mean, if you go to a physician, you get 5 minutes.
Right.
If you come to me, you can have an hour, you can have 2 hours, and we can get right in, find out what really is the problem. Because sometimes it's something mental, sometimes it's physical, sometimes it's visual. And I think the time is really key. So you work with victims of stroke, pain, athletes, expectant mothers. What is it that you do with them? Like, for example, what would you do with an expectant mother? Well, I'd probably do some stuff working towards having a good birth.
So
because the more relaxed, I wouldn't necessarily do hypnobirthing. It's more back to if the mother's calm all the way through the pregnancy, that's going to transfer into the baby as well. Also movement-wise, because the nervous system, particularly the vestibular system, develops in the womb, you know, you want to bounce that baby really. So that's where the movement side comes in. But also the more calm you can keep the mother, the better the birth's going to be for both the mother and the baby. So
when you said you got to bounce that baby, what is it that you're trying to do?
What it is, well, sometimes some mothers are really terrified of moving, and movement is man's best medicine. When the baby's developing in the womb, it does, when it's very small, it does somersaults, all kinds of things, and this is training its balance system. So when it pops out into this world in gravity, it knows what to do straight away.
Yeah, it can catch its balance.
So that's why the vestibular system, I love it so much. It's because it's the first part of the nervous system to develop.
So how do you work with the vestibular system, or otherwise known as the balance system, with stroke victims or athletes?
That's when I do use quite a lot of eye exercises, as well as balance exercises. Postural exercises are really important there, because if somebody's leaning over with their head tilted, that's confusing the brain all the time, and it needs to sort out that information. Also, if somebody has bad vision and vestibular imbalances, the poor brain's got to try and make this. So you know when a kid takes a home movie and it's shaking all over the place, if your inner ear and your eyes are unbalanced, the poor brain's got to try and make a steady picture for you, and that is a huge resource drain on the brain.
And I guess that's probably the case for some people if their vestibular system is compromised?
Yes, exactly. Or if people have had a head injury. So lots of people have a head injury, say whiplash or concussion. They feel awful at the time. They go to their physicians a couple of weeks later and they're like, oh, no, you're fine, out you go. And then later all these problems start developing, like depression, anxiety, stress, insomnia. And that's where I can step in, because I've got the power of hypnotherapy and I've got the power of neurological testing. And then obviously there's a huge trauma still there.
So you help clear out the trauma with
Exactly. And I mean, I use hypnosis. I mean, sometimes it depends on the person, because somebody might be very, very creative, very into hypnosis, and if I'm firing a load of analytical left brain stuff at them, it's not resonating with them. They need a hypnotherapy kind of approach. And other people need a mixture of both, and other people respond very well to just neurological drills, really.
Oh, that's the exercises.
Yes, the eye exercises, the movement. But you can incorporate hypnosis into that as well. And that's where I'd work with athletes, because, as we all know, when the Chinese diving team did a load of hypnosis, like rehearsing movements in their heads, they hired a hypnotist, and that's when they took pretty much all the medals in the diving.
It was the same with the Russians one year, too. They took 20 medals one year because they had hired a team of hypnotists.
Exactly, and also when it comes to athletes and hypnosis, you can do whatever you like. You find out what's the problem, what's the mental block, and all athletes need hypnosis. Not all athletes need a physiotherapist. But all athletes, I think, need a hypnotist.
Absolutely.
They should be. If they open their minds to it, try it. Then
I've actually posed that question to athletes.
Yeah.
Because we know that they train and train and train, and their physical body and their muscular system, I mean, those moves are ingrained there. So the question I ask them, because I'm simply curious, is how much of it do you think is your mental attitude versus physical training? And they say, well, it's always over 60, 70, 80%.
Yeah.
And that's simply, they need to believe in themselves.
Exactly.
And have confidence.
And there are certain sports, such as darts or snooker, where if you're mentally a bit off, that's the end of that, I mean, something when it's very physical, you can power your way through it physically, but the more mental sports, I think that's where a hypnotist really comes in.
So the more mental sports, like maybe poker.
Oh, yes, definitely, yes.
Right.
And snooker, darts, something where, you need to be...
Concentration.
Yes, exactly.
Or golf.
Golf and hypnotists,
So what happens when you work with these athletes?
I think it's I'll find out what they want, because it's all different, but a lot of it's pre-performance routines they want, or it's a specific movement they're trying to do in sport, and they keep for some reason doing it wrong when they're actually playing.
Right.
And obviously, as we all know, that the unconscious mind doesn't know the difference between imagined and what's not imagined, so you can rehearse this particular move thousands of times, and then it's much more likely to occur at the right time during the game. But also it's like, lots of athletes can't relax, they can't sleep, they're all wired up all the time, and they need to rest, they need to learn how to switch off just like that, and then recover. There's no drug that can do that for them.
Yeah, they need to go into deep sleep for that.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And very restful sleep.
Yeah.
So what have you seen in terms of your working with people with things like stroke or any kind of brain injuries?
What's the most interesting thing I found is the best way to mix hypnosis with stroke is when it comes to speech. Because for some unknown reason, and I don't know why, because I'm not a speech and language therapist, I've had the most miraculous results with people who have come to me and they can say 2 words, and now we can have a conversation. And that's where hypnosis is really powerful. I mean, people don't stutter when they're hypnotized.
Isn't that interesting, the way that happens? It's amazing. And they can sing without stuttering.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah, exactly. And also, sometimes people with a stroke, it's there's different approaches. You can take them back to when before they'd had the stroke, but that can be a bit risky because of the emotions. But I think half the time is they haven't spoken for maybe a year, so they've not forgotten, but they haven't got the confidence yet. When you hypnotize them, they talk to you again. It's unbelievable. And they still do it afterwards. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I just caught on to what you were saying.
Yeah.
I completely missed. They actually speak perfectly in hypnosis?
Yeah, they speak much better.
Wow.
But yeah, it's something I have somebody that...
So it's a confidence thing.
Yes, not always, but sometimes. It's the same with the stuttering, but I think it's just, they have to obviously relearn how to talk, but it's so soul-destroying for them.
Yeah.
And then when you, with one particular lady, when I hypnotised her, I eventually got her to agree with it. When we talked, she could say 8 words, 10 words, whole sentences, but the emotion overwhelmed her at the time.
I see.
And then, but luckily, when she came out of hypnosis, she could say about 5 or 6 words. So she then said, "I need to go away. I need to process this because I was so shocked at what happened. It really upset me. It freaked me out." And then a couple of sessions later, we just did it again, and each time after the hypnosis, she could say more. And I think with speech, once you get most of it back, it's just you're on a roll then.
It's just a matter of just kind of creating that, I guess, circuitry in the brain.
Exactly, because it's something that the part of the, I know full well she had a stroke in a part of the brain that's miles away from Broca's area, which is the speech part, and there's another area as well, and I knew it was miles away from that, but yet she still couldn't speak. And no, we couldn't understand it. So maybe it was the trauma of the stroke which made her not be able to speak. And that's why traditional speech and language methods wouldn't work, because they were trying to teach her as if her speech and language center was broken, but it wasn't.
And maybe she overheard something. Maybe she overheard a doctor saying, well, she won't be able to speak. We don't.
Yes, it could be.
We don't know. Sometimes people accept those kind of suggestions as well.
Exactly. And also I think that's why that blew my mind, was this person could say 2 words, and then I hypnotized her, we have a conversation, and she was just, she started crying, all sorts. So it wasn't something she didn't believe. I think it was about exactly what you said. She thought she was never going to speak again.
Right. Oh, poor thing, poor thing. So when it comes to neuroplasticity, what are the advantages of using hypnosis? Like, how does hypnosis, or how can hypnosis change the brain?
Okay. That's, well, the thing is, everyone knows neuroplasticity is a fundamental property of the CNS, the central nervous system. It's neither a good nor a bad thing, it just is. So I think in terms of hypnosis, because you want positive neuroplasticity, not maladaptive, you can use hypnosis to make sure that the brain's going to rewire in a positive way, and people don't end up, when you do stuff to do with addictions, some people get rid of one addiction and take another straight away. So if you want to use neuroplasticity in that way, you can drive it so that when they take on a new habit, it's something useful, like exercise or walking more, rather than just another
switching,
unproductive addiction. Also, I think for neuroplasticity is something we've touched on talking about, was you can pre-prime the brain to self-heal, because obviously neuroplasticity is really important in healing as well, but it also can make people heal in a way that's not productive, because as we know, the brain wants to survive today, not tomorrow. It doesn't care about next week. It wants you to heal and be okay right now. So if you don't use hypnosis properly, you could end up with somebody making a maladaptive change in the body that's suited for now, surviving now, whereas in 6 weeks' time, that change is something detrimental. So that's where hypnosis is really useful, because you can guide the neuroplasticity, which is a natural phenomenon, in a direction that's going to be useful, because as we all know, practice makes permanent, not perfect. So it's all gearing, hypnosis on top of other training in neuroplasticity, you can direct it and be more specific. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. So when you were saying central nervous system, it made me think of pain. Because we know hypnosis works amazingly well for pain.
Oh yeah.
So would you mind explaining to our audience that the whole thing about how there's pain is our brain's interpretation of it?
Yes, exactly.
More or less.
I think with pain, we're in pain all the time, unfortunately, and it's all back to the brain creates pain. So without a brain, you feel no pain. So it's understanding, why is the brain making why all of a sudden is reaching my arm out triggering shoulder pain, even though I know full well there's nothing wrong with my shoulder. So I think in terms of working with the brain, if you've got a stressed out brain, it's much more likely to produce pain. And that's why using hypnosis on a person you know full well, the pain, they don't need that pain, it's not productive, it's not useful, but for some reason it's still there. Hypnosis is a way to tell the brain, and it calms it down. and it, however it works, nobody knows the complete neuroscience. It makes the brain think, so whatever signals are coming through the brain's like, nah, I'm not interested in that anymore.
Right.
And over time, if that keeps happening, because pain is maladaptive neuroplasticity, if you can break the pain cycle, then every time you move your shoulder, the brain's going to be, actually, you know what, that's not dangerous, I'm not threatened by that, I'm not going to give you any more pain, because you broke the cycle, because the brain was in a relaxed or calm or better state, so it was less agitated. So when you fired off, so I suppose it's a neurotag, you'd call it, for pain, the brain thought, hang on a minute, this isn't dangerous, I'm not going to fire out any pain.
But you need to work at the hypnotic level to get
yes, definitely. You need to work
to retrain the central nervous system.
Yes, exactly. You want, and also a lot of it, as we all know, stress is a good recipe for pain. So if you can reduce, say, if there's a threshold and somebody's here with their pain, if you can reduce the stress level, then obviously now this pain thing is not gonna fire. So there's no pain will come out.
So what have you seen? For example, working with someone with sports injury or something, how quickly can you help that person alleviate that pain?
Oh, you can do it instantly, but with a sports injury, that pain's there for a reason.
Actually, that's true. I guess that was the wrong question. With a person with maladaptive pain,
you can do it. It's instant, because it's something. It's one of these things. It's just with pain. It's like thirst. So thirst is a very bad indication of hydration. Pain isn't a good indication of tissue damage. So it's all about working with the brain to say, look, whatever you're upset about, it's all right, it's not broken, it doesn't matter.
Right.
And if you know what to do, it can happen instantly. And that's why hypnosis is so brilliant for pain.
So they could, if it's maladaptive,
yes,
and we're
exactly.
talking about the kind of pain that is no longer useful.
Exactly, or the kind of pain that the body was broken a year ago and it still thinks it is broken.
Right.
So it's healed, physically everything's healed, but mentally, or whatever reason, the brain still thinks
still holding on to the pain.
Yes, and it's about, there's so many different ways you can use hypnosis to break through, and it could be it's a trauma, it's still holding on to the trauma. There's so many different reasons, but it happens instantly.
Wow.
Because the thing is, the nervous system's the fastest system in the body. It's like turning a key and pressing a button. If you get the right key and the right button, then you get amazing things will happen.
Oh, people must be so thankful when they have those sessions where their pain is gone.
Oh, exactly.
Like
it doesn't happen all the time, but it's something that can happen, and always, to not expect it to happen for you, but it might happen in the next session. As we all know, it takes, sometimes it's instant and other times it's progressive.
Sure. So what have you seen? What is the most miraculous thing you've seen in your work that somebody comes to you with a condition that medicine has no answer for?
I'd probably say my lady that couldn't speak.
Oh, the one that spoke well under hypnosis.
Yes, yeah, that's probably the most miraculous, because she was told she wouldn't talk, and I just went along with that. We went into hypnosis to do something different, and she talked. And
well, there you have it. She was told she wouldn't be able to talk, even though that part of her brain wasn't damaged.
Yeah, exactly. But that's exactly. But I think when it comes to, people just believe what the doctors say. Right. And we used hypnosis for something completely different, because we were just going to. She knew I did stage hypnosis, and she just said, "Look, I just want to." Well, she can sort of communicate via her husband, but it takes ages, and she just wanted an experience, because obviously it's crap being in that situation. Right. So we wanted to have some fun. Yeah, so we went into hypnosis, and then I forgot that she couldn't speak, and then she. But I think that's part of, when it's the intention. A part of me treated her as a completely normal person, because I was just saying I'm just doing a hypnosis, and I went into hypnosis mode, and to me she was just a normal person. You forgot. I forgot, basically, and then something somewhere picked that up, and she just talked. That's amazing. That's amazing. And I think it's back to what we were saying, is that the brain knows itself better. A person's brain knows itself better than any medical person. Absolutely. I mean, obviously there's other things that have happened in hypnosis. Some of the stuff very bizarre. Ooh, tell me about that. I like the bizarre things. Oh, right, the bizarre things. Oh, there's been plenty of those. There was one guy that came, and he said as a child he used to be able to see auras and heal. So I was like, okay. Yes, that's very interesting. I have come across this before, but who knows, it may or may not work. So I did the whole session with him, and then he looked at me and said, right now, your knee is hurting on the left and your hip is on the right, and how he could have known that I'd hurt both of those. And then he said, "Can I fix it?" And I was just like, "Come on, man."
Oh, he said, "Can I fix it?" as well.
Yeah. So then he said, then he like placed his hands onto me, and I was being really skeptical. Now I thought, "Come on, man, this is just crazy."
Yeah.
He went, "No, I really can see it's a color here. I can see it on your aura." And he put his hands on, and the discomfort, went, and I was determined for it not to go.
Yeah, because you just couldn't believe it.
Yeah, exactly. Because the thing is, you have to, everybody's different. Let people, if he believes and he can see auras, just because I can't, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And he came, and my mind was like mad. And then somebody else walked in, and he just went, "Shh, I see this, and this here." And I knew the other person. I knew they had problems there. So I was like, "Okay, I get you."
He really is doing it.
Yeah.
And this was after you. What caused him to lose the ability?
I
to
don't
see
know.
it?
He contacted me via the internet saying, "I've heard that you can reactivate certain things. Like I want to learn how to heal other people, because you can change. I think using hypnosis, you can alter people's physiology so they can self-heal." So we picked up on that, and he said, "Well, I want to heal other people. I used to be able to, but I just haven't accessed this for ages."
So, what happened with the discomfort you had?
It went. I know, but I didn't want it to, because I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna. You're a client. You've got your views. I've got mine. I'm not sure if this is real or not, but if you believe it is, I'll give you the session.
Play along with you. Yeah.
I'll do what I can. I've looked into this. I'll do what I can to reactivate your aura seeing ability, because it's like everything in hypnosis. If you've experienced something once, you can bring it back again. That's the key." And it worked. And it worked. And I was surprised. It's when I surprised myself that I really believe.
Yeah,
in the power of it.
He had something going on.
Exactly.
Wow, so what other bizarre things have you seen?
To do with, when you do, I sometimes do something called the Swan, which is it's parts therapy in another form. It's Bob Burns' thing. And anyway, so where you can get a reaction, and then you straight away ask, am I talking to the subconscious? Am I talking to a spirit guide? Am I talking to another part? And you can get people to give things names and all sorts, and it's parts therapy in its own way. And there was somebody that no matter what she did, she just kept eating and eating, and everyone had tried all these different things with her, but all of a sudden this different she started speaking in a different voice.
Really?
And it was she said she said this different voice was somebody that come with her from a long time ago, when food was very scarce, from a time of famine. So this little part or voice or thing, whatever it was.
I think it was like a little entity that attached?
That made her, eat and eat and eat and eat. But sometimes she didn't even realise she was doing it. And this particular voice then started to say, "Well, I've got this really big thing for food that's very, very sweet and very heavy," because this is some medieval time, and this person was saying, "Yeah, I do have these like monstrous cravings for puddings, and I don't know why." And obviously that would be, and then once I woke the person up and asked, I said, "Well, hang on a minute, this part of you started to talk about sweet and heavy food." She went, "Yeah, that's my problem, it's the puddings, I can't stop." And it was this, whatever it was. So then we went back into hypnosis and talked to this whatever it was, to say, "Look, you've had your life, you can't carry on enjoying eating through somebody else, because this is their life, and you're really interfering with this now." So I think you've had your fun. Did it go? Yes, eventually.
And what happened to the client?
She stopped having. She just said, "It's really bizarre, but I used to just dream about the puddings all the time, like very heavy ones, and now finally it stopped." She just said that with all parts of her diet she could always control it, but when it came to desserts and things, she just went crazy. It was like a monster. And she said as soon as that was gone, it was like this relief that she could. She said, "I can control my diet, my lifestyle 90%, but there's this monster I turn into," and it just went.
Oh, that's a nice story. And funnily enough,
it's bizarre. I don't know.
It is bizarre, and we don't know if it's a metaphor.
Exactly, it could be, but it's one of those things that, like, she tried everything and had, all different diets, been ripped off here, there, and everywhere, and she just got, she said, "I'm not like lazy. I do keep a food diary. I am not what people think. I just for some reason.
She really does the work.
She does the work, but then this thing is sabotaging
Would
me
take
all
over.
the time. Yeah. But I think this will be true for lots of people, that it could be a metaphor, it could be, we don't know what it is, but whatever it was, this person's now lost, I don't know, about 50 pounds.
Right.
So, you know, at the end of the day, all this is about is if you help somebody and it works, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter what they think it was.
Yes, and it might be very bizarre that, you know, this story sounds like some spirit from a while back that lived in a time of famine and would occasionally taste good food, decided to attach itself onto somebody in this modern day and make them eat and eat and eat and eat so they could enjoy it. Maybe it's a metaphor, but it worked and nothing else did, and this person's now healthy and happy.
Yeah, as long as it works, it doesn't matter how, does it?
Exactly, and it's I think to her it was miraculous because she'd lost faith in everything and thought she was going to have to be, I don't know, obese for the rest of her life, and she just said, I don't deserve this, it's not fair.
Oh, poor thing. My heart goes out to people like that because you know that their heart is in it, they're committed, they're doing what's required, and then bam. So you got rid of the little...
Have you ever come across this before about with food? I think because food and eating such a complicated but problematic topic that if there are new routes into helping people...
What have I because I specialize in weight loss.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you come across this before?
Not that, but I do quite often notice there's a conflict in what we call their parts.
Okay,
and that what that means is that there's a part of them that wants to be healthy, that brought them to the hypnotherapist, that got them a personal trainer, that, you know, and they are committed and they are trying and they're doing all the right things. And then there's this little part of them that, you know, sometimes if you regress them back, you can find that it goes back, and what food meant to them back then was, oh, mommy gave me a cookie when I had an ouchie. Oh, the whole family used to, you know, sit on the couch together and watch TV and eat, you know, Smarties and popcorn. So they've transposed, and now they're maybe a student and they're living on their own, and they want the connection. They want the feel of connection. And they get that by eating the Smarties and the popcorn. And, you know, when they feel bad, well, they feed themselves sugar to feel good. It's all these pre-programmed things.
Oh, I get it, yeah.
So that part of them is still trying to make them feel good whenever they're lonely or they're in emotional pain or whatever, by getting them to eat.
Yeah, I suppose with my client, it was that's all. It definitely wasn't that. You check everything, and there's always, you know, what else is there that's more bizarre? Why is it still here?
And that's bizarre, but you know what? In the end, you're right. It worked. So.
Yes, and it could be exactly as you say, that it's like a metaphor for something. But this was too weird. I didn't ask for a past life regression, and this thing just appeared, and it was too weird. And when she spoke in a different voice, it was.
I've never seen that.
It was as if something very naughty was doing. It knew it was doing something naughty. It was like, I'm really sorry. I'm
busted. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm busted. Yeah, and it was so bizarre. But yet, you know, I don't really tell many people this because. But then we don't know who else out. Actually,
there's some pretty prominent hypnotists that I've spoken to who have had that experience.
Okay, yeah.
What David Kaloff writes in one of his books.
Oh, David Kaloff, yes,
he's fantastic. That he had a chain smoking client.
Okay.
And what it came down to was when her mother had again, it shocked him too. You can
that's okay. Yeah.
Tell in the book that he's like, what?
Yeah.
But apparently, her mother, who's a chain smoker, had died and attached onto her, and was still wanted that fix of that cigarette.
I'm feeling better now that it's happened to somebody else.
I've heard it actually on the down low. I mean, it's not something that
we don't talk about it, but I think it's something
I asked them, and there's actually a specialist in spirit. There's actually a hypnotist named Albert Marota.
Okay.
And he's been interviewed with me, and he actually specializes in spirit releasement. So whatever you want to make of it, in the end, the person is better. So however it has to happen. So
yes,
it just does. Whether it truly is a spirit attached, we don't know, but it works.
Yeah, I know that's good that other people have experienced it, because I've kept it
quiet. You're okay.
Yeah.
I've heard lots, again, on the down low.
Yes.
So tell us about your upcoming book.
Oh, right. My upcoming book is called Secrets of the Cerebellum. And it's sort of based on the talk I did at Hypnothoughts. Mm-hmm. So what it is, it's for lay people, a guide to pain. What it is, how it works, how your brain works, but also most importantly what you can do to get out of it. So it's all, I'm going to use, in my book I'm trying to move away from too much writing and have more diagrams, infographics, little exercises people can do. Because I think a lot of stuff with brains, it doesn't come with its own manual, and I think it's important that to understand what we do as hypnotherapists and other things, there needs to be a book out there that explains complicated concepts of biochemistry and neuroscience in a way that's fun and interesting for the general public.
Right, kind of like you do with your stage hypnosis.
Yes, exactly.
So you take this complicated subject,
yes,
you're going to make it understandable, and you're going to show them how the physiology and the mental aspects work together.
Yes, definitely.
It's about time someone wrote a book on that.
And also just, I think people resonate well with little phrases and try to make rather than make it medical, try to make it metaphorical, so talk about the nervous system in a way that resonates with everybody, using different experiences that I've come across, and just trying to, I don't know, I think doctors and scientists, I'm guilty of this as well, we write in our own language, so it's impenetrable to anybody else, but the general public now is really interested in science.
They are.
And the problem is of Google, that people go on Google and automatically you think you're dying.
Right.
And it's like I've spent a very long time collecting information from all over the place, and I know it's correct because I've checked it out, so I can put it into a book and say to people, here you are. This is what it's all about. Google's awesome, but the problem with Google is like it's not
Google's
regulated.
not a scientist.
And
Sara Pugh is.
Oh, thank you. And Wikipedia is brilliant as well, but anybody can write in that.
Yeah.
But also Wikipedia again, it's not. There's not enough pictures.
So you're going to help people, like you helped our audience understand.
Yeah.
That pain, if it's maladaptive, meaning the leg, you broke it a year ago, that pain is no longer useful to you. How they can heal themselves from that pain.
And also I'm going to tell people about different parts of the brain and how the left and the right hemispheres can be very different, and how to self-test. And how to, basically what it's going to be is going to be a little book that explains these different parts of the brain. There's going to be a little section, you test yourself, you test your sensory lobes, you test your cerebellums, you test your cortexes. Then using this middle bit of the book, now you come to the next bit and you pick one exercise from A if you're left, if you favour the left of this part of the brain. If you had a better right parietal lobe, pick one exercise out of this box. So it sort of makes a mix and match.
Right.
Very, very simple to start with, because if it's too complicated, it doesn't work. But it gets people in the idea, okay, I'm unique, I'm different, I need to learn about me, then I need to adapt this program for me and my neurology, and I'm not exactly the same as my mum. She might use a different set of instructions or set of exercises. So that's what it's about. It's introducing people to the idea that we're all different, and you need to make the method fit you, not try and fit yourself into the method.
Right.
So that's the problem. If you've got a therapist with you, they'll adapt the session for you, whereas when you have a book, you need to know, okay, well, you
need to go inside and figure out.
Yes, exactly. And also I think it's fun for people to do little tests on themselves, because people love learning about themselves.
Absolutely.
So.
Oh, I can't wait for it to come out.
Good,
it's going to be so great. I'll probably make sure I give them out to clients.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah,
absolutely.
That'd be great, yeah.
So if you had one thing that you wanted to say to our audience about just the power of their minds and what's possible, what would you want to leave them with?
I think, let me see. People say that age matters in neuroplasticity. It doesn't. No matter how old you are, your brain can still change and you can achieve amazing things. So never ever let anyone tell you you're too old to learn the trumpet, you're too old to do this. I've had people in the 80s having miraculous results. So never ever ever let anybody tell you you're too old. The brain is plastic up until you die.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being a guest today.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It's been very, very nice meeting you.